Hold this picture in your mind for a moment. This is from 4 years ago, exactly 4 years ago, January 6, 2021, when the day the certification of the election for making Joe Biden the president was interrupted for a few hours as this happened. What was a more or less peaceful rally by the president who lost the election, who did not claim to lose the election, telling people to go fight for him and his office, went to the Capitol steps and stormed it. You can call it what you want to call it. This is the image. Hold on to it while I go over these words from an article that were posted from yesterday. President Biden thinking on this level. Joe Biden has urged Americans to remember the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol to prevent history from repeating itself. In an op-ed to the Washington Post, he emphasized the nation's duty to recall the events of that day, warning against efforts to rewrite or erase the history of it. Biden stated, "We cannot allow the truth to be lost," underscoring the importance of preserving the memory and the attack of future generations. This call is remembrance from Congress prepares to certify Donald Trump's presidential election victory on this day, nearly 4 years after supporters stormed the Capitol to block the certification of the 2020 loss. Biden assured that the upcoming certification process would be peaceful, contrasting it from the chaos that was the 6th of January in 2021. He has consistently viewed Trump as a threat to democracy, particularly due to Trump's refusal to accept the 2020 election results, which he still has not done. Vice President Kamala Harris echoed these sentiments, emphasizing the need to remember the events to prevent a recurrence. Meanwhile, Trump is set to begin the second term on the 20th of January and continue denying that he lost in 2020, which makes it complicated, and pledged to pardon individuals convicted in the connection with the January 6 assault, which will also be kind of hard. He may not be able to actually do that, but we'll see how that works out. So let's break this down in a couple layers. Number one, the picture you're seeing right now. This did happen. People were there, and this is what you think looks like a peaceful march, a peaceful trip to the Capitol, a nice little tour. Then we have issues to begin with right there. Number two, Donald Trump still says he didn't lose the 2020 election, but he ran for 2024 and will get his second term regardless, based off of things like this. The third thing, history is written by the winners. And so because we won, the Allies won the World War II, we don't have an alternate history such as something from The Man in High Castle, where the Germans and the Nazis essentially ruled the earth after dropping a bomb in an alternate universe. We also have the same complaints that people have for people who are now not knowing the significance of 9/11, because people not born then don't actually understand what happened. And people who tend to forget things like World War II and D-Day because they weren't born then and it doesn't happen. The Pearl Harbor attack means very little to me in a personal sense because it was before my time. It means something to me in a sense that I'm a study of history and a study of war and leadership and whatnot. So I have a lot of thought process into that war particularly. Also, I got a chance to see a lot of historical things when I lived in Germany as a kid on that level, and soon we'll go see the Pearl Harbor memorial in Hawaii to sort of make up for that piece of history that I don't have a personal eyeball on. That's because I like history. That's because I like understanding what happened before so I can see what may be happening right now. I lived through 9/11. My kids did not. So because they did not live through it, they see it in a different light. In fact, my youngest, who's only 12, barely recognizes it, barely registers it because she just hears it in history, but it's not really studied hard enough. She lived through this. My kids lived through this. We all lived through this. Anyone who has although we know toddlers hold YouTube tablets and iPads, anyone who's been through here for the last 4 years, lived through this, saw pictures, saw images, has an opinion on this. We're not going to fight on opinions today. But history is actually written by the winners. And in this case, Donald Trump has won. And he's going to try to rewrite this as a day of love. And going forward as a day of love. And if you watched it, you know that's not the emotion that was being out there highlighted throughout the day. So remember this for what it is, so you can tell your children, your grandchildren, or in the history books that you write going forward, how things actually played out so that we get a true test of what happened. Because what would have happened if the Nazis had won the World War II? What sort of history, what sort of lineage, what would we be talking about right now as right? What would have happened if the South would have actually been successful in secession from the North United States? They were going to put slavery into their constitution, and that would still be around hundreds of years later, that people can be owned by other people when the rest of the world essentially had already given up on it by the time the Civil War started. This is not a time for alternative facts. This is not a time for doing your own research. If everybody's seeing what's happening out there, there's no research to do. This happened. It was not a plant. It was not a false flag operation. This happened. Your views on the background and how it got to be there, they may vary. But the fact that it happened does not change anything. And changing the emotion that you're pushing to love and support from anger and disdain, or vice versa, doesn't change the fact that this image happened.